Let's now look at the business update, and joining me now is Brian Quinn. Brian.
Hello.
Now, we're starting with a look at some of the fallout from the US-China trade war, as American companies operating in China say the environment for them is worsening.
That's right. A top U.S. business lobby in China says a significant number of its members are facing retaliation as that trade war escalates. Nearly half of respondents to a survey by the American Chamber of Commerce in China cited increased non-tariff trade barriers, with over 40% saying they're considering relocating their manufacturing operations outside of China. Three-quarters say the tariffs are hurting their business, with many refocusing their production to supply the domestic Chinese market in order to avoid import duties as their products go back to the U.S. More than a quarter of respondents are delaying or canceling new investment. Donald Trump has repeatedly suggested U.S. and other foreign firms might leave China as a result of the trade war. Beijing pushed back on that idea Tuesday. Here's a spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry.
It is true that for some time the US violation of trade rules has caused some disturbance to international markets, which include both China and the US. But eventually, any business must ultimately make a policy choice about its investment direction based on a strategic judgment of its economic prospects. In fact, despite the US continuous threats of imposing tariffs on Chinese products, we can see that enthusiasm of foreign investors to invest in China remains high, and they still have confidence in China.
Checking in on the markets now, a muted day on Asian indexes as trade tensions continue to simmer despite Washington's decision to delay a ban on U.S. companies doing business with Chinese tech giant Huawei. The Nikkei in Tokyo ending the day up just slightly as shares in SoftBank and Uniqlo parent company Fast Retailing gained there. Hong Kong's Hang Seng up just under 0.2%. The Shanghai Composite, though, down 0.2%. Samsung shares continuing to benefit from the uncertainty surrounding its smartphone rival Huawei. Kospi in Seoul up nearly 0.5% just ahead of the closing bell there. Well, that delay on U.S. companies being banned from doing business with Huawei means the company has just 3 months left of access to the full Google Android mobile operating system. That didn't stop it from launching the latest smartphone from its Honor brand in London Tuesday with the latest version of Android installed. Huawei will likely lose access to Google apps and services like Maps and YouTube when the delay expires. The company is hard at work building its own replacement, but analysts say it could be a tough sell for consumers.
People buy an Android phone not just for the Android operating system or the open source core at the heart of Android, which is what Huawei will still be able to use, but they buy it for those Google services. They buy it for continuous Android updates going forward. And if Honor and its parent company Huawei can't provide these, that's going to be a massive black mark against their devices.
Next, employees at French steel company Ascoval are back at work, but they face an uncertain future. Parent company British Steel is on the brink of insolvency, and it has cut off all dialogue with Ascoval's 270 workers. Britain's second largest steel producer has asked for a bailout from the UK government, while France has lent Ascoval €12 million to keep it afloat. Claire Muffson has the story.
As dawn broke, smoke billowed once again from the Ascoval furnaces. Employees returned to work after a 3-week shutdown due to a shortage of orders.
It's demoralizing. It isn't easy having just 1 week of work per month, not for us or for our families.
We got some orders now, but how long can it last? Days, months? That's all? And then what? We used to come to work with a smile. We were happy working together. Not anymore. It's not the same now, because we don't know what we're going to do.
It's been a difficult 4 years as buyer after potential buyer fell through. At stake, tons of steel production and the future of 270 employees. When the mill was finally acquired by a British company on May 2nd, they thought they were in the clear. The problem? The buyer, British Steel, is on the verge of bankruptcy. Despite the company's assurances that work will now return to normal, the Ascoval employees are worried. According to this union rep, the company has cut off all dialogue.
We're confronted with people who refuse to talk to us. They won't offer an explanation. They schedule a time to meet with us, and then they cancel at the last minute. Apparently, they have more important things to do than to come and meet us.
British Steel's president cancelled a planned visit on Monday. He stayed instead in London to argue for a government bailout.
Finally, for business, how would you like to spend your golden years at the post office? 2 years ago, the French Postal Service began offering the option for clients to have mail carriers check in on their elderly relatives at a cost of €30 a month for 2 weekly visits. Well, now, French business daily Les Echos reports that La Poste is considering turning 14 of its large buildings into city centers, turning them into dedicated senior service centers with on-site apartments. For the moment, the plan is still in an exploratory phase, but as the use of traditional paper mail services has declined, La Poste has increasingly turned to what's called the silver economy, acquiring a number of home medical businesses focused on seniors, taking that to the next step with live-in apartments at the post office. Julia, I don't know. Could be nice. Nice buildings.
I mean, yeah, big buildings, centrally located. Why not?
Why not?
I wouldn't say no.
Sure.
Brian Quinn, thank you very much for that business update. Okay, well, we're taking a short break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes with another news roundup. Stay tuned.